Dr. Jackson, could you please give me a call? I know that this announcement about these reciprocal tariffs just came out today. And then I also have my customers who are calling me about these tariffs, and I'm getting ready to ship very soon to that international market. Please help. Hi. I'm Dr. Sarita Jackson, founder and CEO of the Global Research Institute of International Trade. Welcome to another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2, where we talk about international trade policy for roughly 2 minutes every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Now, this episode is going to be slightly longer. For the 2-minute version, go ahead and catch this version on our shorts. With regard to that scenario that I've just described, this actually happened, just a little bit more embellished or dramatic, I'll say. But the crux of it remained the same, where I did get a call expressing the urgency and the need for assistance before shipping goods to an international market. Last week, the United States announced its reciprocal tariffs. You can see my earlier video about these reciprocal tariffs. And once they were announced, they announced the specific tariff rates that were going to be placed on goods coming from different countries all around the world. Now, the reciprocal tariffs refer to those tariffs that were designed to match the tariff rates of other countries. However, they were at a discounted rate. For example, if country X placed 30% tariffs on our goods, then we offered a discounted rate, half of that, let's say 15%. That's what happened last week with regard to the reciprocal tariffs that everyone was waiting for to come down the pipeline and be announced on April 2nd. Now, with regard to this company with which I'm working, they benefited in the sense that they were exporting to a market with which we have a trade agreement, and that was either Canada or Mexico, where we have the US-Mexico-Canada agreement or the USMCA. With this announcement of the reciprocal tariffs, it was also announced that any goods that were USMCA compliant were exempt from the reciprocal tariffs. Therefore, any goods imported from Mexico or Canada did not have any of these reciprocal tariffs. And so for this company that is exporting out, unless Canada or Mexico places any kind of retaliatory tariffs on those goods, that particular product entering their market, they should still be able to enjoy the duty-free exemption. Now, let's keep in mind that the United States already announced its 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, and that is still in place for any imports of steel and aluminum that come into the US market. Now, here are my two recommendations when advising companies that are trying to find new markets in the climate that we have today and with the information that we know right now. I do recommend looking at markets where we have a trade agreement, or particularly the USMCA. And yes, in the news, it has been a lot of going back and forth with regard to tariffs on goods coming from Mexico and Canada and the possibility of retaliatory tariffs. And then there's a pause, so on and so forth. But at least where we are now, it looks as if the USMCA is providing some help or hope for companies expanding overseas if they're sending goods to Canada and Mexico and then importing from Canada or Mexico. That's tip number one. Tip number two, to make sure that if you are exporting out or importing actually that it is USMCA compliant. What that means is, does it satisfy the rule of origin? The rule of origin sets the percentage of the content that must be produced in any of the 3 North American countries to enjoy duty-free treatment. So those are the things to really focus on. Number 1, the USMCA itself, the agreement, and then looking at the particular products. And then number 2, if that product is compliant, that satisfies the rule of origin. So that's me just adding a little bit more depth with regard to everything that is going on. Finally, I do want to answer the question when it comes to these tariffs that I continue to get is, well, why do we have these tariffs? Well, the reason being is it's not just to generate revenue for a government, but these tariffs are one way to also protect local producers. And that is why when you're hearing this discussion about the United States imposing these tariff rates on different products or goods coming from countries around the world, it is designed to protect local producers, but also to bring in the manufacturing side of things, to bring manufacturing to the United States. Now, whether or not that is feasible, if this approach is effective, is a different discussion. But for now, it's just to clarify what is going on and to identify some of the options to producers. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Trade on Tuesdays at 2. I hope this longer version provides some more context and helps you as you decide or work on your strategy to expand internationally. Thank you.